Alright guys, welcome back. Thanks for your patience today. We're looking at the North Point Water Tower, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, supposedly built in 1873 and 1874. Here are some pictures showing the perspective going up to the water line. Now look at that spire, that's what we're going to be talking about today. That's one of the older pictures. So now this is like the pumping station, which is just down the hill. So if this picture went up more to the top, that's where the water tower is. Perspective shots for you. So they built out that whole front part. And now here's just like some old postcard showing the age of it. Look at that story that was taking it, the finial at the very top, right? Because that's kind of what I'm fixated on for this video. And here I'm going to do a long zoom here on this finial. This is an old picture. A lot of these parts have been built out. But as you can see, it looks almost like some type of a weird shape. Now I tried to adjust the exposure so we could see more detail on the shape, and it almost looks like just like going straight up with these circular kind of features around it. Now these are some of the oldest pictures I could find, and you'll notice that the shape looks very different than what it does today, which is the main thing that drew my attention to this. Now this one, if only it went a little bit higher, we could get a full picture of it, but it almost looks like some kind of like angel or something just kind of reaching out there. This makes it look almost like an orb kind of hanging out here. This is a really old picture. Doesn't that kind of look like an orb at the top there? What is going on? So yeah, this is just another perspective shot. So now this is a street right here. I guess that's where the water was. And this is before they tore it down. I'll show you what they put up instead of it in about 2 seconds. Boom. And that's it. And you can see that water tower in the top left, kind of at the base of it, but just a square building, and they just built it right in front. Can't really tell, but it's on like about a 50-foot hill, and now that's that new building they just replaced. And if you look off to the left, you can see the beach, and that will be Bradford Beach right here. This is it in the 50s. Pretty hopping spot, if I do say so. But let's get back to some interior shots. So now this is the 4-foot standpipe, which is lining the inside main part of this 4 foot. So that's what, 48 inches. And now this is the very top, which I'm assuming has been changed over time slightly, but I thought that was interesting just looking up into that thing. But now 4 feet just seemed like a large diameter for a water pressure pipe. Now this is what modern water towers have. They have 2 16-inch diameter pipes. So that meant that this was generating more energy than even these. And you'll notice that it's 125 feet high. That's about how tall this tower is. And they also have telecom connections on the top, and which is kind of what a lot of people think these old like Victorian era futuristic water towers were doing. I mean, that's what I think. I think they had a different purpose, maybe. Now this is looking south, and if you could see all the way down this road, you would see the reservoir, which is where I took these pictures. Granted, I threw some effects on there, but all the way to the left would be where the water tower is. We're not going to really cover the reservoir in this one, just because there's a lot going on here with these water towers. And yeah, just zooming in, and every single picture I got, the finial at the very top looks different. So now, it brought me to this story. This is kind of a sidetrack of this dragon that was like art commission in the 80s that they put on top of the water tower. And this is what it looks like today. But the reason I thought that this dragon situation was so interesting was this is what is featured on the flag of Tartary in all of these old atlases. Here's a couple more examples. Also, the owl is depicted as a symbol of Tartary, but that led me down a rabbit hole. See, I was looking for this picture of this dragon water tower in somewhere in the East Coast, Midwest. I couldn't remember where I'd seen this picture of, but it led me to all of these Midwestern water tower wonders, such as the Detroit water tower, just in the middle of this field, just looking so out of place, almost like the Taj Mahal. It kind of reminded me of, just looks so ridiculous, so huge. and just intricate. And you can see this dude doing the one hand inside the jacket. This whole area has been terraformed. Look, not a single native tree, just kind of cleared landscaping. But these crazy looking water towers, this is a picture from 1875, and now you'll note that none of the Milwaukee pictures are this old or this good a quality. And I don't know, it just seems like cameras were invented in different time periods in different places. But you can see this finial at the very top of this one, and it kind of looks similar to what we have in Milwaukee in these older shots. So now you can kind of see the layout of this. They have these wild campuses for this water system, but maybe it was also like an electrical system, because it seems like that's where this is leaning. I mean, especially with the interior of these standpipes, you know, it just got me thinking. So that's kind of more similar to what the Milwaukee finial looks like. And now it brought me to this one. I think this is in St. Louis, but just ridiculous looking, Greco-Roman Colosseum looking. And this is another one, and this like really reminded me of the Washington Monument and its layout. And just in this, yeah, see, exactly. Yeah, this body of water just perfectly reflected with this tower, Palace of Versailles kind of vibe. It just got me interested in that whole situation. But then I found Chicago has some old ass water towers as well. This is from right after the fire, I believe, and it survived the fire, obviously, because it's made of stone. But it looks like they took down part of it. But yeah, it has a very similar style. And it just got me seeing all of these different water towers all over the Midwest that just seem so out of place. And here's another cool shot. I thought something about these retro Chicago pictures are cool. Well, that takes me to Louisville, Kentucky, where this beauty is held. I don't know how many of you guys have seen these before. This is 1860 ? I don't know. I mean, this looks super old. There's another one. This has a 6-foot diameter standpipe, which is larger by 2 feet than the one in Milwaukee. Also made out of limestone. Cost, of course, $50,000, built around the same time, and they have all these weird different styles. As well as that like Greco-Roman one on the left, which I think is different than the other one I showed. So maybe that one's in Indiana. I'm not sure. There's so many out of place towers. And yeah, it just got me thinking of these old world cathedrals with their spires, and just like whatever type of atmospheric, etheric technology could be harnessed or channeled through the air. You know, all these old cathedrals seem to have a primary focus on this aspect of what they're doing with this architecture. So, welcome back. So yeah, it's just the Wikipedia page, just kind of showing you what this looks like today. That's that finial at the top. Actually, I believe they even replaced it since then. But this is in 2009. But yeah, it has. So yeah, 1871. It was commissioned. Charles Gombert. So limestone from Wauwatosa. Wrought iron standpipe, $50,000, but far exceeding the $8,000 estimate. So we'll see that $50,000 number in the future. So yeah, 4 feet across, 120 foot tall pipe. Better rest of the waterworks from destructive pulsations from the massive pumps. So yeah, this is Victorian Gothic that it's said to be modeled after, and you'll just see some of these architectural tropes. Yeah, wowzer. This is a crazy one. This doesn't even look like it belongs in India. What is going on here? But yeah, just a similar style as these, I suppose. And this is an article from that dragon being on the water tower. And then this one is great. So this is the restoration update from a few years ago, and they replaced these stone finials. Been using that word wrong, I think, but so they said 3 of them needed to be replaced. So here's them kind of lining everything up. You can see that one that wasn't replaced right here, but pretty old school looking. I believe this part has changed as well. Just in some of the older pictures, it looks slightly different. Not really sure. So the weather vane from atop the tower is now safe in storage, awaiting its reinstallation after repair. They never reinstalled that, by the way. It has not been replaced. The weather vane recently taken out a decided lean, as you see here. Severe spring storm was expected to deteriorate even further. Roof is in fine shape. So, I mean, but if you look at this shape, dude, like that doesn't look like what we are seeing in the oldest pictures at all, really. So yeah, here's a close-up of that whole wind vane situation, interior. And you can see this lean. Here's them taking it down. You can just see how old and rusty this whole fucking building is. I love this design. I don't know what that means, but so yeah, you can see this. This is them taking it down. Get a good shot of it here. I think they have a really good close-up at the end. So this just looks nothing like what we're seeing in the oldest pictures. So it raises the question of what exactly were we seeing in those oldest pictures, because it doesn't look like this, you know, and that's kind of what raised my attention. And especially after this, the official report says the weather vane is back on solid ground after 143 years and was found to be in good storage. So they're saying that was up there for 150 years and never hit the ground, but it looks like it changed a few times in the past. So here's them just repairing the Cream City brick. 142-year-old staircase, not sound for public traffic and liability. So another reason I delayed this video for so long is me and my buddy actually did a tour of this water tower, and I was hoping to get to the top, but they wouldn't allow it. You could just walk in the interior inside this door. And it was kind of lame, to be honest. I was disappointed, but I confronted the door guy. I was like, hey, have you ever seen these old pictures? It doesn't look like the same wind vane at the top at all. He had never seen it. He had no idea what I was talking about. So this is apparently one of the workers that built the tower. That's beautiful. We love to see it. Here we can see a very vivid postcard. Looks like a similar shot, 1873, yada yada. But let's see what it says here. 175-foot Victorian Gothic tower was constructed in 1873 and was part of the original waterworks serving the city of Milwaukee. Its purpose was to absorb pulsation of reciprocating steam-driven engines in a standpipe within the tower. The tower is made of Niagara-cut limestone. Okay. Well, on Wikipedia it says it was made on Wauwatosa-cut limestone. So I looked into it, and I think that is referring to the Niagara shelf. I guess it goes from like Niagara, New York, all the way across the Midwest, and a type of rock. So I don't know if there's anything there, just in terms of contradiction. Here's just the historic designation. I thought was a pretty cool picture. And the reason I'm doing like a video for this, these like PDFs, is I couldn't figure out how to save the files of the PDF. I don't know what these are. Oh yeah, so this is that Louisville water tower. Just looks super old world. But yeah, it was designed in 1812, 1860. Built before the more famous Chicago world. So the interesting thing is they say that the oldest ornamental water tower in the world built before the more famous Chicago water tower. So the oldest ones look the coolest. And I think it's still standing. Louisville Engine House. And they have, yeah, of course they have all these gods and natives, but it just looks super Greco-Roman. And I think there's some type of connection here that we aren't able to piece together with these old like White House looking buildings. I think there might be something more there. So they have all these statues I thought were super interesting too. So they have Mercury, supposedly winter, Hebe, Neptune, spring, flora, summer, autumn. What else? So yeah, just like these old world waterworks buildings just look so absurd to me. Once you start looking into these, they don't even know when this was taken. They're like, yeah, somewhere in the last 30 years we took this picture. But the older it is, the more ancient and advanced it looks. Look at this. Does this not look? This is 1835, dude. 1835, dude. And just look at this. This looks like some like Lord of the Rings style paradise, you know? If you saw this on just like a normal stroll, this would change your life, bro. This looks like ancient Greece. Look at this. It's like paradise. Of course, the central tower. Of course, you need that. 1874. But yeah, you know, we had cameras back then. We had cameras around this time. We also had cameras around this time. Why are we not getting a picture of this? Why would somebody go through the trouble of engraving this? We have cameras for 50 years at these points, you know? So this is how it all cranks out, works out, all the physics. So to the main reservoir. But this looks like that. The Parisian pump to get water to the fountains at Versailles. But just a huge operation here. Big dam. So this is what it looks like today. This is what the complex looked like back then. Oh my goodness gracious. That is just like a castle wall, dude. Yeah, right here. Okay, so yeah, it brought me to this with this World's Fair Pavilion. I was like, what? But this is the Goodrick residence. This is like right down the street from the water tower. Looks very high-techy. All these is still standing, but it has like a lot of spires that stood out to me. And just a weird facade. But it brought me to this Paps World Fair Pavilion that they shipped back from Chicago, I guess, and just like put it onto the house. But apparently it was like undergoing restoration, and that it was still standing though. I mean, granted there were some cracks, but still standing. Sold to the Archdiocese. They honestly don't give many satisfying pictures on here, but it was an interesting story nonetheless. But here's some pictures of the Paps Mansion. And this pavilion is what they're speaking of, the World Fair Pavilion. It's kind of just like hanging off the side of the house, but it's still super cool. It has all these cool statues. Let's keep moving. Here's some more shots of the pavilion. Here's some shots of it at the World Fair. And it was held on the second floor. And this is not a light piece of masonry here. This is not a light piece of masonry here. So this would have been quite the operation on the second floor nonetheless. As you can see, just all these statues, all these fixtures, pretty elaborate. Okay, keep moving. This is the mansion. That's now the conservatory of music. Very high-tech looking as well. And this is another Paps Mansion just down the street from the water tower. Keep moving. This is just like, I think this is from Niagara, but one of my favorite shots. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. I'll try to be more frequent on here. I know I've been AWOL for a little bit, but I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you next time, okay?